Hello guys, welcome to GS Core. I am Rajini Jindal, faculty for Law Optional, and today I will be discussing with you the topic for the mains answer writing practice actually, which is separation of powers and constitutional provisions. Separation of powers and constitutional provisions. First of all, let me make it very clear to all of you. In any optional program, try to understand the contemporary era or the current or the latest developments which are happening in the society. Because UPSC is asking the questions from those domains only. So when we go by this particular idea like separation of powers, so recently you must have heard about, like in case of Bilkis Bano case, whereby the governor has given the remission to the rape accused in this particular matter. Similarly, recently our vice president has basically criticized the basic structure doctrine. And he actually emphasized that, for the purpose of this, separation of powers, so there is a, ongoing debate. What should actually happen when you are basically dealing with, the separation of powers? Because Vice President was actually, very critical about the judicial activism, or I should say judicial overreach. Because right now, we have seen in the past that many, in many of the instances, Supreme Court has interfered into few situations whereby it was, you can say, a kind of overreach in the name of the basic structure. So that was one of the reason whereby president of vice president of our country, he actually highlighted that government, the judiciary should avoid interference into the government powers or the role of the government. So this was the main actually theme or main idea whereby we have to focus upon. So this Bilkis Bano case or this criticism of basic structure by the vice president, it makes very clear that this separation of power question is very relevant for all of you. So what kind of question you can figure out in the exam? So what that we are going to discuss with you in this particular session. So before I discuss with you, I will just let you know how to write down the answers. If it is a 10 marker question, if it is a 15 marker question, or if it is a 20 marker question. Accordingly, you can decide your contents. So suppose I will be telling you total contents actually, and then accordingly you can decide as per the length of the question, as per the marking scheme, what kind of contents you should use. So normally, whenever you come across the separation of power, we start normally with the historical background. What is the historical background of the separation of powers? So when we talk about the historical background, generally it is said that it was given in 4th century, okay, before, in the BCE 4th century by the Aristotle, whereby he mentioned about the 3 organs of the government, 3 organs of the state, you can say, in the name of General Assembly, then in the name of public officials, and then judiciary. And the same kind of concept was carried on during the Roman Empire. So in the ancient Roman Republic, this concept was actually applied, you can say, in the name of Troius Politica. And this entire thing was actually codified properly by Montesquieu. So you can say this particular term and this concept of separation of power was coined by Montesquieu in 18th century. He was, you can say, a French social and political philosopher. He was a French social and political philosopher who actually mentioned properly about the separation of powers in his work called Spirit of the Laws. So what actually I'm mentioning you right now, if the question is a 20 marker question, start from the historical background. If the question is 10 marker question, avoid this. You have to understand the technique to write down the answers actually. So basically, historical background is about, you can say, this 4th BCE, whereby the Aristotle actually laid down that the 3 organs of the state should be working, independently of each other, and they should avoid any kind of interference into other organ of the state. And on the same footing, this was applicable during the ancient Roman Empire, Roman Republic, and finally in the 18th century by the Montesquieu, it was finally held that yes, there should be a proper division of, you can say, work or the functions between the all 3 organs of the government. So this was the starting point, you can say, through historical context in few lines, in 3 to 4 lines, just write it down. Okay. Then comes, after this you have to explain the concept. What is the concept of separation of power? What is the concept of separation of powers? So when we talk about the separation of power, it simply means that there should be a division of the functions among all 3 organs of the government. Among the 3 organs of the government. So basically, this division can be like USA or can be like Australia, whereby there is a rigid division. There is a clear-cut division of the functions between the all organs of the government. But in case of India, as held by the Supreme Court in many of the cases, it is not as such like USA or Australia, it is actually broad in nature. So there might be some overlapping, but we have to basically figure out that every organ of the government, every organ of the state should properly function without any interference into any kind of organ, other organs actually. The main idea behind separation of power is, please now explain the main idea. Main idea is basically why separation is important, why division is important. The main reason is basically to avoid abuse of power. Because if power is concentrated in few organs of the government only, then there will be abuse of power actually. So the main idea behind separation of power is actually to avoid the abuse of power. And to avoid this abuse of power, there should be some kind of channel of grievance. There should be a channel of grievance. So this channel of grievance basically we call judicial review. If you write down in this sequence, please mind it. No need of writing anything else. Your answer is more than sufficient, you will get maximum marks. But if you write down unnecessarily, like picking up something from here and there, then there will not be any sequence. So please mind it, you have to write down the answer in a proper sequence only. So when we talk about the channel of grievance, so ultimately we call this a system of checks and balances. We call this system of checks and balances. That is the main point actually. So ultimately, generally I have seen students basically write only the system of checks and balances. No, you have to come to this point in a very systematic manner. So first explain why it is necessary, what it is and why it is. तो ये है क्यों मतलब what is the reason behind separation of powers? To avoid abuse of power, so that power should not be concentrated in the hands of a few persons only, and then you provide a channel of grievance, so that it makes this entire system as a system of checks and balances. So come to this point in a systematic manner only. Avoid writing in the very beginning checks and balances. Okay. So once you are done with this particular introduction about this particular thing, you can say, you can quote the one quotation given by Lord Action, power corrupts and absolute power corrupts absolutely. So just quote this line. Even you can start this line in the beginning as well. Or once you are done with this, just mention this quote now. Power corrupts and absolute power corrupts absolutely. So now you are done with 2 points. One is historical background. Second is concept. So once you are done with these 2 things, now we will move on. What is the biggest issue? What is the main issue? Why this grievance mechanism should be there? The main grievance mechanism should be there because if, we have been given 3 organs of the government. We have been given 3 organs of the government, and now mention about the 3 organs actually. So one by one, please try to write down brief. Only 1 or 2 line will be more than sufficient. So three organs of the government. And what is the biggest issue actually? I will tell you in this diagram only. So at one side we have executive. At other side we have the parliament, or we can say legislature. We should say legislature. And at the last moment we should say judiciary. So what actually happens in case of executive? We have been given president, we have been given vice president, we have been given prime minister, and we have been given council of ministers. So collectively they are the executive. And when we say legislature, it is purely parliament actually. It is purely parliament who makes the law. And then judiciary, basically through the judicial review, they enforce their, basically they apply the law and they check out whether this law is properly implemented or not. That is the main concept. So what is the biggest issue? There is an overlapping actually, overlapping. And what is overlapping and what is the main reason behind the overlapping? Please pay attention to this point now. The main reason is when executive and legislature, they are coupled, they are same. So when executive or legislature are same, so basically this combination is the biggest issue. And unfortunately in India, this actually happens because legislature and the executive, nearly they are same. Nearly they are same actually. I should not say that they are completely same, but nearly they are same. And why they are same? Because one of the biggest reason is, you can say, the role of opposition. And what we have seen in the past, that opposition has become very weaker. So if we would have been given proper opposition, if opposition could be playing its role properly, then they could have worked as a check and balances upon the misuse of the power by the combination of the executive and the legislature. And to overcome this situation, judiciary interferes by judicial review. By judicial review. But sometimes executive or legislature, they say it is not actually review, it is overreach. Because sometimes judiciary enters into the domain of the parliament as well. Okay. So this is one of the biggest issue, and that we have to discuss actually. So ultimately what happens? Excessive power at the hand of executive, excessive power in the hands of the executive, then the role of opposition, or you can say lack of opposition actually. Lack of opposition. And then even in case of judiciary as well, like for example overreach, when the NJAC was, you can say, held unconstitutional by the Supreme Court. So sometimes we say that there is no check and balance upon the judiciary as such, because the collegium system, which is nowhere mentioned in this entire constitution of India, where from this actually came. So this is one of the biggest issue, because this is the outcome of the judiciary only. Who are being appointed in judiciary, that is also outside the ambit of anyone else. So this is the biggest issue actually. So if you relate this particular thing in such a manner, you can write down reasonable points only, reasonable points, and you will get the marks only for the reasonable points. So if you can relate this particular issue in such a manner, this particular, you can say, why separation of power is important, because executive coupled with legislature is having, you can say, excessive power, and then lack of opposition, lack of deliberation, lack of discussion makes it very cumbersome for a democracy to survive. And then judiciary comes into picture through judicial review. But unfortunately, sometimes when the judiciary itself is not subject to the biasness, means when it is, when it is not subject to the, any kind of overseeing power, then this makes it very difficult to tackle this issue. So by looking at this particular picture, now you can simply say, yes, what is the major issue? And now come to, so once you are done with the explanation of this concept actually, now we will come to another topic, another point. So basically we are done with historical context, concept, and then issue. Now you have to mention the constitutional provisions, because separation of power is not given specifically as such. So it is being given in various constitutional provisions. So fourth point will be your constitutional provisions. So one by one write down Article 50 first. Second, write down Article 121, Article 211, then Article 122 and Article 212, and then Article 361. Now please explain all these articles in a one line only. Like for example, Article 50 says that judiciary and executive should be separate. Number one. Article 121 and Article 211 says that there will be a prohibition on discussion of judicial actions of Supreme Court and High Court judges. So when they are working in their judicial capacity, so this will not be subject to discussion. So there will be a prohibition on the discussion of the judicial actions of the Supreme Court and High Court judges. This gives them independence actually. Article 122 and Article 212 provides that legality of Parliament and state legislature, legality of the Parliament and the state legislature proceedings can't be challenged in courts. So the work of judiciary is not under the ambit of Parliament, and the work of Parliament is not under the ambit of judiciary. It is also separate, you can say. And finally, Article 361 says the President and Governor, they will not be subject to any kind of legal responsibility for their official work. So after going through this, now you are better, making the examiner understand that I am very well aware about these provisions as well, whereby separation of power is not specifically given in the constitution, but it has been given under under the various articles. So these are, if you go by the collective reading, we can say that there is no rigid division of the powers, or I should say functions actually. There is no rigid division of the functions of the various organs of the state, but there is a demarcation of the limit, that there is a Lakshman Rekha. There is a Lakshman Rekha that no one should cross that. But the main dispute arises when there is, breach of the Lakshman Rekha. And the breach happens because of the overlapping. So the breach happens actually, the breach of Lakshman Rekha happens because of the overlapping of the functions of all three organs. So sometimes there is actually, on ground, if we go by the ground reality, there is a functional overlap. Actually, because we do not have been given a clear-cut rigid demarcation of the functions of the organs of the government like USA or Australia. So because of that, sometimes there is an issue with respect to the division of the powers between the all organs of the state. That is one of the biggest issue. But before we move on that, I will discuss with you because once you are done with this constitutional provision, we have to move on to the pronouncement, judicial pronouncements. And then I will come with the functional overlapping. I will come to discuss with you this functional overlapping. So basically, now you will mention about the judiciary, the judicial pronouncements. You will mention the judicial pronouncements. And I request all of you, please note down these judicial pronouncements one by one. So starting with this Ram Jawaya Kapoor versus State of Punjab. It was the first case whereby this separation of power concept was discussed actually, and it was held that we do not have the rigid division of the functions as such, but there are certain kind of limitations imposed upon every organ of the government that they should not interfere into the work of others actually. So if you go by this Ram Jawaya Kapoor case, please write down the crux that we do not have the rigid division of work or the functions, but we have actually the broader kind of, the division, and whereby sometimes there might be some functional overlapping. But all organs of the government, they should avoid overlapping, or they should avoid interference into the work of others actually. But the main question is who will make sure that this overlapping does not happen. So this was the first case whereby this particular thing was discussed, and it was held that the separation of power, or you can say no rigid division as such, but broader perspective is there actually. Then finally, in, you can say, Keshwanand Bharti case. In Keshwanand Bharti case, as we know very well, doctrine of basic structure. All of you know this very well. Now, relate this basic structure, because ultimately the main area is the core topic is separation of power. In this core topic, we have been given, you can say, the peripheral. The periphery is this basic structure doctrine as well. This makes this basic structural doctrine is very important topic for examination as well this time. So if you go by the Keshwanand Bharti case, it was held that separation of power is also under the ambit of basic structure. So separation of power is also a part of basic structure, and it cannot be taken by any organ of the state. Simple. After this, another two cases you can mention. One is Indira Nehru Gandhi versus Rajnarayan case. It was also with respect to the separation of power, whereby it was held that yes, separation of power is there and executive cannot decide the things unilaterally. It is within the domain of the judiciary only. The judicial review can happen, and judicial review is supreme actually. And finally, Swarn Singh case. And this was also one of the relevant case actually, in which the governor powers, the power of governor under Article 161 was challenged, whereby the governor actually he remit the sentence of one person without procedural safeguards actually. And then Supreme Court finally held that we do have the power to review this power of governor under Article 161. We can review this as well. So you cannot say that governor powers under Article 161 is totally immune. It is also subject to judicial review. So judicial review can happen of these powers as well. And that is the reason I started my discussion by mentioning you the Bilkis Bano case. In Bilkis Bano case, she had actually filed a petition before Supreme Court to review this particular power used by the governor in Gujarat to remit the sentences of those accused. So if now finally you can, when you're mentioning all these points, you can give the, the current perspective as well, where this particular separation of power issue is basically being discussed or analyzed. Like in Keshwanand Bharti case, when our vice president says, because when basic structure came, this doctrine was propounded by the Supreme Court. No doubt it is okay, it is absolutely required, but sometimes in the name of basic structure we have seen judicial overreach as well, because basic structure is very, it is not defined properly. It is subject to multiple interpretations actually. That is one of the biggest issue. We cannot say it is subject to, you can say it cannot be subject to discussion. It is subject to discussion, it is subject to criticism as well. Okay. So now after mentioning all these, the judicial pronouncements, you are specifically mentioning what is the take of the judiciary upon the separation of powers. And then finally, the sixth point which you should mention, and you should emphasize is basically the functional overlapping. Now we should mention about the overlapping actually. So when we say functional overlapping, so like for example, one by one we will discuss about three kind of functional overlapping. Number one, overlapping powers of legislature. So overlapping powers of legislature with executive and with judiciary. So when I say overlapping powers of legislature with executive, so you can say like for example, legislature has the power, means parliament has the power to impeach. So impeachment as well as removal. Impeachment and removal of judges. Second, powers to amend laws declared ultra vires by Supreme Court. So it means you can say they can amend and they can revalidate them. And third, in case of breach of parliamentary privileges, they can punish that person. They can punish the concerned person. So these are sometimes you can say ultimately actually this is with judiciary, sorry. And now I will discuss with the executive, sorry. So in case of judiciary, they have the overlapping powers whereby they can impeach and remove the judges, they can amend the laws, declared ultra vires or void by the Supreme Court or High Courts, and they can revalidate them. And in case of parliamentary privileges breach, they can punish the concerned person as well. Even we have seen in the past that there was a case whereby Parliament has used this power as well. Similarly, with executive, when we talk about the executive, so number one, the main issue is the legislature and the executive, they have a close connection actually, because all the heads of the government actually, they are the member of the legislature. So they actually come from the legislature, and that is the biggest issue actually, because in India, the legislature and the executive, there is overlapping, because the heads of the government, they come from the legislature only. This was one of the main issue. Second is, in case of, you can say, no confidence motion. In case of no confidence motion, Parliament can dissolve the government. So in case of no confidence motion, Parliament can dissolve the government. That is, you can say, the power of the legislature. Second, they have the power to assess the work of executive. They have the power to assess the work of the executive. That is another point. Fourth one, even they can go with the impeachment of president. They can go with the impeachment of president as well. And basically, when we talk about the legislature, actually the biggest issue is the Council of Ministers, because the president works and the governor, they work on the advice of the Council of Ministers only, and who are the elected members of legislature. So this particular, you can say, overlapping creates issue. So once we do not have the proper opposition, so how this particular democracy can be ensured? Because then the government becomes absolute in power. So that is the reason we do require proper opposition, so that they can question, they can raise issues, and they can maintain the sacrosanct ultimate objective of this democracy. So by this way you can say these are the main areas, the major areas whereby there is a functional overlapping of the powers of the legislature within judiciary and within executive. Similarly, we will write down same overlapping of the powers of executive with other organs and the judiciary of the other organs. I hope it is clear to all of you. Now, I will discuss with you the functional overlapping of executive. Now we will discuss about the functional overlapping powers of executive with judiciary and with legislature. So in case of judiciary, generally executive make appointments. However, this is the biggest issue, the main contention is actually the appointments already. So recently the controversy whereby the law minister and judiciary, they are upfront with each other. So biggest issue is about the appointments, because ultimately the appointments, no doubt appointments are being made by the executive, by the president, but ultimately we know how exactly the judges are being selected. And recently the biggest controversy whereby the Supreme Court has specified that seniority should be given to the names recommended. So this is also one of the issue right now. So the appointments of the Chief Justice and the other judges are made by the executive. That is one of the biggest issue. Second is the powers with president or governor to grant pardon, reprieve, remission, commutation, etc. So basically, this is also one of the issue, because this power is with judiciary as well. So judiciary has the same power, but there is a difference between the powers, but they do have the power with them as well. Third is the tribunals, sometimes they perform quasi judicial functions as well. So the quasi-judicial functions which they perform, that is also one of the main issue. And judiciary say, this is our function, how you can take this one? Okay, so this is one of the biggest issue in case of overlapping of the powers of executive with the judiciary. Now with the legislature. So the power of executive to promulgate ordinances. The power to promulgate ordinances, having the same power of the Parliamentary Act actually, but subject to certain limitations. But we are talking about the overlapping actually. Second, powers under delegated legislation. So even sometimes powers are being given through the delegated legislation to the executives as well. And third is basically the executive has the authority to make rules for governing their respective procedure. So we were just discussing about this overlapping powers of judiciary. So ultimately what happens, like for example, they may have the the overlapping with the executive, like under Article 142, the Supreme Court has the main power to bring the justice, so they can decide anything. And when we talk about the legislative, through the judicial review, so even they have this power as well. So ultimately, this overlapping powers between the overlapping of the overlapping functions between the three organs of the government is the biggest issue, and that is the main reason the separation of power becomes very important. So what I advise all of you, you can write as per now, the conclusion should be given by you in your own words actually. So ultimately the main point, main agenda is basically you have to conclude your word, in your words, what is your take on this. So the articles which you refer, as per that you just conclude whether the separation of power should be curtailed properly or how it should be basically implemented. So that is up to you only. That's all. Thank you guys. Thank you very much.